Good morning. I want to just sit down with you and go through some of my portfolio. It's very early in the morning for me right now, and I just want to sit down and show you some of the pictures that I have in my current phone. Obviously, this is not my entire portfolio. I've been in masonry for most of my life. We barely even had flip phones when when I first started, and definitely didn't have cameras in them. So these are just some of the more recent photos, and I just want to bomb through them quickly so this video isn't too long. So in no particular order, we're going to start out in some of the commercial projects. This is a school gymnasium. The interesting thing about this photo is we had a very small crew on this job, and I ended up laying actually most of these blocks in this gymnasium and on the school in general. We ended up having a bit of a bigger crew toward the end. And this is just an exterior photo from the second floor mezzanine. And this was some of the more decorative veneer block, just kind of showing you the details of how we do insulation, membrane, dense glass, what do you call that, sheathing, steel stud, high-end commercial project. Schools, government infrastructure is just super, super, super overbuilt. It's great experience though, getting seeing how these details are done. And I like to try to blend some of this into my residential. Residential is especially in what would you call that? I can't think of the proper name, but cookie cutter houses. It's very, very underwhelming and very often improperly done, and the building standard should be much higher. I've seen not in Canada, but in some climate zones, they're able to use cardboard now, like a thick cardboard as sheathing. It's bad enough, I thought, OSB, the OSB with its water. It has water resistance, but after that water resistance is broken down, just everything just turns into a soggy deck of cards. Anyways, we're not going to go into that. I just want to show you some of these commercial details. This is a torch on tar membrane detail here, and sometimes we just have to take pictures of to show the engineers that we have installed these things properly. This was actually some laborers that installed this insulation here, which they didn't do properly, but won't get into that right now. Just kind of showing some details. This was the ATB Center. This was very early on in the job at the Lethbridge ATB Center, and this was after a big windstorm came through and knocked some of our hoarding through the wall. It was kind of funny. We came in and see the blocks actually dried in that position there. So I had my buddy stick his arm through the wall. He's like the Hulk smashing through the wall. I thought it was kind of cool. If you have seen the ATB Center now, it was a very large project. Proud to be on that project. Found this funny looking cat here in front of this limestone job that I was on. Limestone is a very dense stone and a very smooth stone. So on this sort of a job, you have to use a polymer mud, very sticky. You have to be very concerned about being clean because that stuff gets on everything. It's very hard to remove. It can damage the product, and you want to use that high adhesion mortar in these on that project, in these sorts of projects, or else that stone's just going to fall right off the wall. Here's a brick job that I did for a farmer named James. I forget his last name. I did this actually, this entire stone job by myself. This was one of the first projects I did when I was working for Topaz Masonry. This is before it was getting cleaned. It's a very beautiful home he has here. I love any chance I get a time to lay these standard modular bricks. And here is just a cookie cutter stone job on one of these cookie cutter houses. Very nice house, actually. You got some of the hardy board and some of that. I think that's that vinyl imitation. I don't know what you call that, shake on the top there. Very beautiful home, actually. So you can see here the concrete I did not do. I could do an exposed aggregate pad like that. but something of that scale is just out of my reach right now. But you can see on the side there, that little bit of a concrete sidewalk with the molded edge, that is something I could do. Again, I didn't do this one in particular, but that's definitely something in my wheelhouse if you're interested. Here is a stone job for the Jensens. Jensen Korn. This was a really cool job. Again, another one of the early on jobs that I did for Topaz Masonry. And I did this job entirely by myself. I was actually it takes a long time. It's very laborsome, having to do all of that manual work by myself, all of my labor work. But it was nice because I'm out on this acreage. And it's a beautiful place, and this was a really beautiful job. And you get to claim it all for yourself, I guess. So again, this is for the Jensens, for Tabor Korn. And this was, they had 3 fireplaces in their house, 1 on each floor. This was the main floor fireplace with stone that's not made anymore. This was Kodiak stone, and this discontinued. There was a dual-edged sword with Kodiak stone. The forms were very, very, very bad. They actually ended up going out of business or moved it into the States or whatever. They got bought out. It was an awful stone to lay. It was hard to make look nice. But if you took the time and actually touched everything up and fixed the edges with a saw and laid them tightly like they were supposed to be laid, it was a very beautiful looking stone. It could be made to look very beautiful. It was just, if you tried to lay it normally like you would any other stone that was made properly and shipped properly from the factory, it would not look very good. But so these were some of the fireplaces we did here, and you can see that bit of a seam there. It just doesn't look super great. Unfortunately, they wanted to do 30-degree angles on these fireplaces, which is fine. I can do that. I can miter the edge, but you're never going to get that perfect seam there. It doesn't look as bad in person as it does look in the pictures here. These are really beautiful fireplaces, but you want to typically go with 90-degree edges so you can use those standard formed corner pieces for these projects. See, that was the basement. This was the top floor. Very tricky angles on the top there. Got a really nice fit on this. It all turned out really well. Customers were super happy. And I ended up actually breaking my shoulder in a dirt bike accident right as I was finishing this job. This was a fireplace in Coaldale, I believe. Nothing really special about it. Beautiful fireplace, beautiful house. And just caught a photo of this right before I was cleaning up there. Sometimes you got to catch a photo when you can, because you might forget, like I typically do all the time. So this was what is this? Royal Park, I think, in Lethbridge. Did a stone wrap on this place. This, interestingly, is all reclaimed brick from the Lethbridge Hotel, I think, when it got torn down. And then we were able to put this on his house. So this is all just really super old heritage brick, putting on one of these older heritage houses, actually, in a sort of a historical community. I guess it's an older community in Lethbridge. If you ever get a chance, pop through. They got some really nice old beautiful houses out there. This turned out really well. Customer was super happy. He was a great guy to work for. And then we have a house in Coaldale. Some really beautiful black stone here. These are larger stone tiles, and I did not do any of the paving stones or the landscaping stuff here. I just did the stone on this one. And I can easily do this sort of stuff. It's just not my main wheelhouse. It takes a little bit longer. I don't make as much money on it, but it is easy enough stuff to do. And you just got to be careful that you do the proper processes. Put the retaining fences in to keep this stuff tucked up nicely in place. And kind of interestingly enough on this one, the nice thing about using pavers versus concrete in some of these older places that may not have had their newer places that may not have had their compaction done properly, you can see how the stone kind of ramps, or those pavers kind of ramp up towards the sidewalk there. That's because of settling, probably after these were installed, and that's common because of improper compaction around newer houses. And there's only so much you can do if you're not the one that installed the basement on these places. So that's very unfortunately common thing to happen. And the nice thing about paving stones is they don't just sink and suspend and crack, and they kind of will actually conform and deform around some of those settling areas. And it's still going to end up having to be fixed at some point, but it's a lot easier coming back in and just pulling these up and then putting them back down versus jackhammering everything out and dealing with cracked concrete in the meantime. It's just, it sucks that I even has to be something that's said, but it's common. This compaction issue is just super common, and it doesn't seem to be changing. So here is a Hutterite colony. We did some brick here. This was the very first arch that I ever built. We did 2 of these arches. I can't entirely remember if this was the first one or the second one. I did the first one with the help of Canet Topaz, and then the second one I did by myself. These are really fun to build. It's kind of cool how we ended up doing these. Sometime I like to catch a video of that. Unfortunately, you don't get to do too many arches nowadays, but I'd love to do more if I could get a chance. And here is a fireplace in Nobleford. I believe these are one of those houses on the highway as you come into Nobleford. Just a nice natural stone fireplace here. Those hearth stones were stupid heavy, and we cut those actually corner pieces there to fit pretty nicely. Kind of surprised none of those broke. I do believe those were natural stone. Very nice, very nice. This is behind my place. Sorry for the appearance. This is just an old shed that I had some leftover stone. This is actually 3 or 4 different kinds of stone. So it was like 2 boxes of each kind. And I was just like, you know what? They're all kind of close enough together. I just wanted to see what happens if I threw them all together. I had really nothing else going on. You can see I was kind of pouring a little bit of a pad in the back there, makeshift pad. Just doing some, some clean up my place a little bit, and I actually have replaced all the tin, made the shed end up looking real nice. But in the meantime, I just threw the stone up there and it turned out really well. I believe that's that Kodiak stone as well there. If you take your time and lay it do your time and put it together really neatly and tightly and clean everything, it turns out pretty nice. So this is a fence that I did a long time ago. And I do believe I did the wood on this one as well. He's painted it since then. This was a very long time ago that I built this. I did not do the foundation on this fence. I just installed the pillars and then built the wood panels in between. It's good to see everything's holding up nicely. And this was a little bit of a stone job in Coaldale in front of a dentist office, I think it was. Really nothing too special about it. Just a nice looking pillar there. This was one of the more, this was definitely one of my proudest projects here. This was a fence that I did for Justin Deedle. And this is great. It's not as only is it a really beautiful fence, there is also, you can see those electrical boxes in the band there. We run conduit, PVC, I think it is, conduit through that band. So we can put lights in the pillars, and also we have plumbing run through, water line to supply a fountain, and that little bit of a box there you can see in the middle is going to be for a waterfall. Really beautiful. Let's see there, this is just my stone again. So this is one of my fences. Don't really pay too much attention to the sidewalk there. I just had some leftover pallets of brick, and you're really not supposed to lay brick as pavers, but I needed to get this stuff out of my yard. It wasn't enough brick to do for anything, and this was just a nasty area that I had in the back of my place that I needed to get taken care of. And I was so sick about having to drag the weed whipper back here every time to kind of clean this up. So I just laid these old bricks that I had down there. They've been holding up pretty well. They haven't been breaking or anything, but that's a big concern. You're not supposed to use brick for pavers because they will end up breaking, shattering, and just cause a big kind of sort of nasty mess if it is a high traffic area. I hardly ever really go back here. There's really not any issues that I'm going to have. This block here is one of my fences, and this is burnished, super expensive, high-end burnished block. This was leftover block from the YMCA and a couple other jobs, and that turned out really nice. I really love these block fences, especially with these charcoals and these white colors. This is the fence on Reno's place, my neighbor. This was actually kind of cool. This was before I finished the front part there. So this was in between the project. I ended up having to put this on hold over the winter when it got too cold. But you can see here we've got, a nice design. This is my side. His side got all of the split face. This is a raised flower bed. This is sort of one of my little pet projects that I had. I had just enough leftover block to do this. Just sort of some random stuff that I had laying around, and I just kind of came up with an idea that I could use it all, kind of maximize how much I had, and I wanted to build something really sort of, with a lot of angles and a lot of complication to it, just as sort of, like a showpiece. It turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. Looks beautiful. I'm going to hopefully get around pretty soon here, as soon as it warms up, and get the concrete poured in this front area here. I've got the mixer pretty much tuned in, and the 310 is going to be ready to start hauling aggregates, and we're going to get this looking even more beautiful. And this was a Tyndall job. I always sort of forget the name of this stone. This is like some of the most expensive stone in the world that you can use. It's similar in marble, except for the fact that these are actually seashells. So this is more of a porous sort of stone than marble. These are basically fossils is what this stone is. It's crazy. People putting this on their houses. There's so much of it. It's not like, they're, ruining these fossils or anything. But you can actually see little creatures in like skeletons and stuff in some of these pieces. And this was just like a crazy scaffolding setup that we had to build. We actually, again, we used the polymer mud on this because we adhered this to stucco and acrylic stucco, which I thought was crazy, personally, especially in the trim there. You can see up against the soffit. That's just acrylic stucco. That's just styrofoam that's fastened over top of stucco, and then we've just fastened it to the acrylic coating over top of that styrofoam. I personally probably wouldn't recommend it. Like, the back of this Tyndall stone is very smooth. Yeah, the polymer mud does stick like crazy. It's great stuff, but I'd love to go back. This is actually the owner of West Steel. Is it West Steel Construction? I think George is his name. Great guy. And beautiful house. That copper tile on the roof there is extremely expensive. It's crazy that people put that sort of stuff on the roof, especially with as much hail as we get around here. But I guess if you got insurance, it is what it is. It's very beautiful. We had to really go out of our way to protect this. We built the scaffolding, do that little bit of an arch over the window on the top there. And very beautiful house, very, very beautiful job. This was a nice summer job for us. This was just some work we did, another commercial job, some nice looking stone over some block there. This is my neighbor's place across the street. I had a little bit of leftover stone. I was like, hey, I think I got enough of this. So you can put it on your chimney and make it look really kind of cool. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. This is Matt Perizzo's fireplace. Turned out real nice. Again, we got a couple different angles going on the top there. He's got a beautiful place, and he's got a very beautiful fireplace. And it's just another photo of my fence, a little bit of firewood. Use it for storing some firewood. And this was me tearing up the ground. I had a little bit of time off, actually, after sort of retiring from bricklaying, after Titan kind of wrapped things up. So this was after I built that raised flower bed there, and I was, don't have any I didn't have any equipment at this point in time, so I was just out there, built this little electric rototiller, and just tilling things up and shoveling things, and just trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life after that. So this is in front of my house. You can see I got the scratch coat there, getting ready to do some. I was thinking maybe do some architectural stone, or we'll see. Maybe I'll touch it up a little bit and do some stucco over top of my house. But this little this is actually block that I put architectural stone over top of, and I built this when I very first bought the house. It's been up for a long time now. This stone isn't laid properly. Again, this is just some salvage stone that I had. I didn't have proper corner pieces or caps or anything like that, so it's not actually how you're supposed to lay the stone. But it was just, it was one of the very first stone jobs that I ever did. Built a long time ago, and I needed to get this, find a way to get my new gigantic wood stove into my house. So I actually ended up having to cut it and cut a corner out of it so I could use my picker truck to pick my fireplace into it. And so this is built out of cinder blocks, just covered in stone. So I had to cut that, and it looks really beautiful now. Yeah, had to do a little bit of rework to it. Unfortunately, I probably don't have any. There's my stone fireplace inside, my stone hearth inside here. That's a new brick hearth that I built in my living room. That's right next to me right now. Again, you're just using some leftover materials, and just kind of busy work through the winter. Really wasn't anything else I could do, so I was like, hey, why not? Let's use some of this leftover materials and build something kind of cool. I actually don't end up putting another wood stove here. This is just my entertainment center actually now. Very beautiful. Then this was that 5 foot at a time driveway video that I got. So check out that video. You can see how that all came together. And, that's just before I'm putting the finishing coat on there. This is my big gate that I've got in the front of the house. So this was a gigantic footing that I put in, very deep piles for these very heavy duty steel gates that I put in front of my yard. And you can see all the rebar details and all the piles. I think I put piles like every 2 feet. This thing's going to be super sturdy. I'm going to have big heavy 3-ton driving over it. The concrete in my yard is going to be very thick. Super old fence that I did long time ago. Again, when I first got the house, it ended up getting hit by the dump truck when he came drop the gravel off to that you can see there. Unfortunately, I didn't put any landscaping fabric down. This is stuff that I did long time ago, before I really knew a whole lot about anything. This was a concrete resurfacing video. Again, the concrete that I put in here a long time ago kind of needed some touch up, so I learned about concrete resurfacing, and this was the result of my first attempt at that. I got a video for that as well, so go check that out. And then you can see here, this is I think this is an example of concrete resurfacing gone wrong. I wouldn't really say wrong, but it's not always going to turn out perfectly well. If there is cracking in the subsurface, that cracking is going to transfer through 100%. And but sometimes the customer doesn't care. The concrete is in really poor shape, and they just need something over top of it. So this is in front of the retirement home where my grandmother was at. She's actually at a different place now. I just took some pictures of this because I wanted to see some examples of what happens when you do this stuff when you don't do this stuff properly. I want to kind of get an idea of what does happen. So I took a photo here. You can see all the lots of cracking and whatnot. But you know what? Fair enough. This probably looks a million times better than the concrete before. You can see some delamination. There was, this is what this is a result of is just the very poor concrete that was below it. Concrete should have all just been jackhammered up and re-poured. But the fact of the matter is, you know what? This guy put this resurfacing coat over top of this, and it's got him a couple of years. It's pushed that that's the very large bill that they're going to end up having to pay back a few more years. So fair enough. This is another, this is not my job. This is another example of what happens when you don't do things quite properly. This is a very beautiful driveway. This is actually Ike's place. And he has a very, very beautiful place. I love how the guy who owned it before him built everything, designed everything. I've got concrete around pretty much the entire of the front yard. Replaced all the grass in the front with concrete, which is a great idea. I think I'm going to do on future projects. And this is stamped concrete. Another thing that I can absolutely easily do. I'm going to be picking up some stamps in the near future here. Thing is about stamped concrete is it needs a dye release for the forms. And if you do use a dye, especially a very bright dye, you have to be concerned about constantly sealing that, like every year resealing that, because that finish is going to come up. Even with, this not being a very high traffic zone, if you don't reseal it, you're not constantly resealing it every single year, this is what happens. The dye comes off. This is a job I did for Rory's daughter up in Airdrie. She just needed a little bit of a pony wall to pile some gravel up against. I did the concrete here as well. I did not do the stone. I can easily do that stone. It's perfectly fine. But they wanted this little bit of a pad here for the hot tub. They're going to put a closure around for the hot tub, and they wanted a little bit of a pony wall, retaining wall for the gravel for the grade to pile up against. So there's tons of rebar in there, polymer mud and that's going to be very sturdy, retaining wall. I can also do Allen block retaining walls or any sort of retaining walls you want to do as well. That could have been an option here, but this is the structural block. This is going to be even better. And that was just a little patch that I did on the side there. We're actually going to cover that in with some stone pieces once we get back to that project in the coming future here. This is some stone that I picked up, more salvage stone that I picked up from Calgary. It's going to go on my mom's place. I was just showing her a picture of that. And what it looked like. It's probably going on the carport that I fixed for her. Just took a picture of one of my Blockbuster saws here. Just wanted to show Buddy. This is a very beautiful, it's super old saw, but very beautiful saw. It's a great addition to my fleet. This is a retaining wall for the aforementioned carport that the stone is going to be going on. And this is just a little bit of 6-inch block. So the reason I needed this was I needed a flat grade. This concrete here is very broken and unlevel. There was no rebar. This was poured by whoever owned the home previously, or maybe not previously, but one of the previous owners. And, they didn't do a great job with base. They did a decent enough job, like placing the concrete, selling the concrete, finishing the concrete, but they didn't use any rebar and they didn't do the base properly. So it's just absolutely deformed to all heck. And, now that it's settled decently enough and been driven on, it's got a good settle to it. And but it's so incredibly low. What I'm going to actually be able to do is just put a bit of a sand layer over top of this. And it's so low that I'm going to be able to pour another 4-inch coat of concrete driveway over top. And I'm not going to jackhammer this old concrete up. It's so low, I can just put some sand in for fill and then put another 4-inch driveway over top of it. And this is going to be my grade line for that. And it was also my flat grade for the wall that I built on the side of the carport as well, which I don't have a picture of, but I can get a picture sometime in the future. And then this is just my some precast stuff that I built a long time ago for the fence out in front of my yard. And then this is one of the very first things I ever built. This is super long time ago. This is one of the first jobs I did when I came back to Canada. I built this is all old reclaimed block I built for my aunt in her backyard. Poured that concrete, built that fence, did all that. And this is such a long time ago. I'm like 22 years old in this picture. And this is not me, but this is just some flagstone sidewalk that I could easily do. I was just taking a picture of that for a guy that was interested in this for a project. This was a little fireplace that I did for a guy out, forget his name, but outside of Barron's here on an acreage. Again, some leftover stone that I had. He had this little fireplace insert in his addition, and he asked me if I had anything to throw on it for cheap, and I did him that solid, and he put the little bit of barn board in there as a finish. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to wrap that up. And I just wanted to say thanks for watching the video. Sorry it went way too long. I can't believe it's half hour. I wanted this to be like a 3-minute video, but there's just no way to do that. So if you stuck around to the end, thank you very much. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hope to see you out there. I'd love doing I love doing cool projects. So, if you're interested, my business is growing. I've got a lot of equipment coming, picking up an excavator here in hopefully a couple weeks. And, maybe by the time we're watching this video, got all kinds of cool, crazy stuff going on.